Laughing, hoping that I get signed. Now I own my own tracks, riding waves of the hypermind. Popular and dirt poor broke, that ain't my type of grind. If I got started.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to be talking about Blood and Guts from Detroit, Michigan, June 29th, 2022. My hometown of Detroit, Michigan. I did not go to the show. I know some people are probably, hey, did you go to the show? It's your opportunity to go see AEW. I didn't get off work until like 7:45, bruh. I wouldn't have made it. All right. I wouldn't have made it. If I didn't have to go to work today, I probably would have stretched it and gone. But I still would have had to work on Thursday, but I ended up not going. We're going to talk about Tony Khan's, let's talk about his announcement first. The Royal Rampage. This was announced on Twitter. So apparently it's going to be a 20-man Royal Rampage match. And it's a Royal Rumble. Every minute, somebody's going to come out. And this show is their iteration of pretty much everything. We got Luchasaurus. We got Blood and Guts, which is their version of the War Games match. Now we're going to have their version of the Royal Rumble on Friday. Everybody kind of has their version of the Royal Rumble match. Everybody kind of has their version of Kane. We're going to talk about that stuff later. But we're going to talk about their version of the Royal Rumble right now. The winner, of course, will get a championship match against Jon Moxley at a future AEW show. They are not specifying when. So this is pretty much probably something they came up with at the last minute. I'm not upset by it. I kind of like the Royal Rumble. So there's no reason for me not to like this. Except I think I saw some of the entrants, and almost none of them were, they're interesting to me as people that I like. I like Roosh. But Roosh has had 0 matches in AEW. One thing that I really want to talk about, and I think I said this maybe Monday. I need to say it every time. It needs to become one of the things that I say on this channel. Because I really want people to understand wrestling is not an action movie. It is a dramatic interpretation of sports. That's what it is. It is a dramatization of a fight. That's what it is. When you try to make it an action movie, that's when it becomes a problem. Because everything within wrestling is all about heightening the dramatic effect, drawing out emotion, drawing out interest, creating questions. Now, let's take a look at some of the entries from the Royal Rampage match. And I'm going to go through one by one, and you tell me if anybody I named is an actual legitimate threat to Jon Moxley. Frankie Kazarian, John Silver, Hangman Page, Orange Cassidy, Roosh, Konosuke Takashita, Penta Oscuro, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland, Darby Allin, The Butcher, The Blade, Dustin Rhodes, Max Caster, Tony Nese, Matt Hardy, Dante Martin, Brody King. Now you may say, whoa, Keith Lee's in that match. Powerhouse Hobbs is in that match. Hangman Page is in that match. Theoretically, those guys could be top guys. Think about what I just said. It's a drama. There's no momentum for any of these guys. It's a random battle royal thrown together on a rampage. I don't even know when the last time Keith Lee worked a singles match. He's essentially a tag team wrestler now. Same thing with Powerhouse Hobbs. Hangman Page, fresh off of, a pair of losses. Now, he's probably the most likely person to win the match, but he's not going to beat Jon Moxley. And there's no reason for me to believe that he will, because AEW essentially shoots drama in the ass and watches it bleed to death. Why do I say that? We'll talk about that when we get to the Blood and Guts match. And I want people to really understand me, that I'm just not, there's certain things that need to occur, that need to happen in order for these things to be brought to their highest potential. AEW just routinely misses the mark on it. But I'm gonna leave you in limbo. But hopefully you got some kind of idea of what my critique of the Blood and Guts match will be. But the Royal Rampage, isn't it? All I know is if they start having some version of the getaway chamber or some shit like that, then I know something else. But hey, WWE kind of stole the War Games too. They stole it for NXT, and everybody essentially does a Royal Rumble now. They call them 100 different things. Battle Riots, that's the MLW version of the Royal Rumble. The Gauntlet for the Gold, that's the TNA version of the Royal Rumble, which ends in pinfall or submission. Everybody has their own version of the Royal Rumble. So now, I thought the Casino Battle Royal was their version of the Royal Rumble. But now they're gonna double down and come off. They're not going to create not only a knockoff of the Royal Rumble, they're going to create a knockoff of a knockoff. So, yeah, I mean, go for it. I don't know, man. Do your thing, boy. All right, so let's finally get into Rampage. I mean, not Rampage. I don't watch Rampage. I might watch it this week, though. All right, match 1 from Dynamite. Orange Cassidy versus Ethan Page. I couldn't have cared less. Orange Cassidy wins the match via 2 orange punches and a body slam. A body slam. Now, this match started with Dan Lambert cutting a joke. It was an election joke where he says that, there's rules and regulations and you have to follow the rules and regulations unlike the election or something like that. And they got a lot of heat. Then he said that the best friends need to leave because they don't have a valid manager's license. The election joke was probably unnecessary, but it does tie into, if you people don't get it, what happened in Detroit was there was a lot of, let's say, irregularity when it comes to how our voting for president ended up occurring, with people covering windows. So you can't watch the count like you're supposed to be able to. You're supposed to have a right to watch the count, but they were blocking the windows. Then, of course, you had your magic fairy dust of votes that came in after everybody's supposed to have stopped voting. But we're not going to get into that because it's not really relevant. But we see that Dan Lambert is making locally relevant jokes. Orange Cassidy counters Ethan Page finished it. What was it called? What is it called? The All Egos Edge or something like that. He called it his version of the Razor's Edge. He countered this by putting his hands in his pockets. There we go, man. That says it all, doesn't it? It is what it is. All right, so Christian Cage comes out, says that he was asked to apologize for what he said about Jungle Boy's father. Continued by saying he never apologizes for anything in his career, but he's sorry Jungle Boy's entire family isn't dead. Everybody except his mom, that is. Now, when he was introduced, Tony Schiavone said he has a match tonight, but he didn't come out in his wrestling gear. So then he kind of addressed that and says, I did ask for a match tonight, but I didn't say it was for me. And he introduces Luchasaurus, in a black mask. And he roars, and there's fire now. And I guess he's a Charizard from Pokemon. I don't know, man. Kane, such a phenomenal gimmick, such a tremendous gimmick. Everybody rips it off. Everybody rips it off. And you know what? I really resisted, especially since the most recent Kane roasting when it comes to the abortion thing. Everybody's saying, oh, Abyss is better than Kane. And I was kind of like, come on, man. Like, Jesus Christ. It's amazing the crazy stuff people will say when they're upset with you politically or personally. Again, it's the old, ex-girlfriend. As soon as you dump her, your dick was small. She hated your room. You suck. Your car wasn't good enough. You was always broke. Just all the things. None of the shit she complained about when y'all were together. As soon as y'all break up, all of this stuff comes out of the closet. It's like you had all this hate in your heart already. You're just looking for a reason to dump it out. So now you got all these bitter and jaded wrestling fans. Abyss was a better Kane than Kane. I'm like, come the fuck on. Nobody, even Abyss doesn't believe that. Nobody believes that shit. All right? Nobody believes that. So now AEW has created their version of Kane, which is guy in a dinosaur mask. Look, I'm not against repackaging Luchasaurus. I'm not against that. What I am against is the lack of story that is behind it, the lack of drama that is behind it. He had one conversation with Christian Cage last week, and now Luchasaurus is a completely different person? Like, we didn't see what got us to this point. You know, how do we build to this point? You know, now I'm guessing the idea is we do the drastic change, and then we explain it later on. You know, maybe that's what they're planning to do, is they're going to try to explain why Luchasaurus decides to pal up with Christian. They're going to explain that in future episodes of Dynamite. But to me, you need to build up to the turn. You know, maybe have Luchasaurus help Christian beat up Jungle Boy. Maybe throughout this entire time, Christian was showing favoritism to Luchasaurus, maybe giving him more compliments than he was giving to Jungle Boy. You know, who knows what, anything. But this comes across as being very sudden. And then, so now you got all the fans, just like when Red Velvet turned heel, like it came out of nowhere. And there was no explanation to why she was all of a sudden best friends with somebody she hated. Like, we have no idea why all of a sudden Luchasaurus doesn't care about Jungle Boy, and that Jungle Boy was beat up and left for dead, and Luchasaurus doesn't care anymore. We have no explanation for that. It's just there. So now you're leaving fans online to come up with their own headcanon about why this is happening. You know, they're trying to fill in the gaps of why this is occurring. And I'm saying to myself, like, no, it is up to the storyteller to inform you, or at least drop some hints or some clues onto what's going on. You're not supposed to just dump these things onto people, you know? And I get it. Sometimes you do the wild turn and then you explain it. Kind of like, I like to use non-wrestling examples for people who might not live in the wrestling bubble. Like when Captain America became a bad guy, you know, Hail Hydra. That came out of fucking nowhere, and it pissed a lot of people off. But there were some people who were interested, and they said, like, oh, wait a minute, how did we get here? You know, like, how did we get to Captain America being a bad guy? And then they kept reading the story to understand what happened. Now, maybe that's what we're doing here. And it's a very weird way of telling the story, because it's all about shock and awe, which is what I think Tony Khan is going for. He's going for, it's a shocking rejection, shocking change of Luchasaurus to now he's doing something different, and he's aligned with Christian, who, you know, is saying all these terrible things about Jungle Boy, who is his best friend. But it's still not better and not more dramatic than the build-up to the turn. That Luchasaurus was the guy who maybe took out Jungle Boy, or whatever the case may be, you know? So to me, I didn't hate Luchasaurus' heel turn. I didn't hate it. I didn't particularly like it either. It didn't really change my opinion of Luchasaurus. It had no real thread for me to grab onto and be able to sit back and say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. Or to me, it just came out of nowhere. It was just kind of like, oh, so we're doing this now. Now we've got, you know, Charizard Luchasaurus, who's going to be a fire-breathing dragon now. I don't know, man. Like, whatever. Do what you do, man. Hopefully there's some explanation for this, and it just fall from the fucking sky, and we got to live with it. I thought maybe it was going to be a ruse, and, you know, maybe they're going to work together for a little while, and then Luchasaurus is going to turn on him later. I thought maybe that would be the case. But I'm making my own headcanon trying to explain this shit, because they didn't do a good job of explaining it. You know, there was no explanation. Talk about not doing a good job. I mean, you would have to actually start doing a job of telling this story. But it's a new development. But you don't just develop characters by randomly turning them heel or randomly turning them babyface. You have to have reasons for this stuff. This is what character is. Character is in your decision making. If, the kind of person you are decides, a story. I'll give you guys another example. How many of you ever watched Yu Yu Hakusho? A great anime, right? It's a story about a kid named Yusuke. He's a bully. He's a bit of a dickhead, right? But you see how Yusuke really is when there's a little kid about to get hit by a car. And Yusuke rushes into the street to push the kid out the way. He gets hit by the car and killed. And the show is about how he's resurrected and he has to kind of, it's kind of a redemption arc for Yusuke. He has to represent planet Earth and fight demons and all kinds of stuff. It's a real fun show. But you're introduced to Yusuke Urameshi as he's a dickhead. He's a bully who picks on other people, constantly gets into fights. He's a ne'er-do-well. He's a kind of a criminal. And he's a jerk. Not the kind of person you would think is a heroic character. But you see the glimpses of who he really is when he saves that little kid and he didn't have to. Through his own life. And then, spoiler alert, you find out later that the kid would have lived. Even if Yusuke hadn't done anything, the kid would have lived. Like, that's a cool fucking story. It's a development where you're like, oh, I see now. He made a decision. He had a decision. He could, A, continue to be a dickhead, see a kid about to get hit by a car and do nothing. Doing nothing is a decision. Or B, he could be a hero, even at the cost of his own life, and jump out there and try to help that kid. And that's what he chose to do. And that's who he really is, right? And you figure out all the tough guy shit that he does. It's just a facade. He's really, not that bad of a kid. He's still kind of a jerk, but he's really not that bad of a kid. So when you are telling stories, you should be trying to dig deeper into the character that you're bringing out of here. And putting the character in a position where the character has to make a decision. And this is where we should have done with Christian and Luchasaurus. Where Christian gives Luchasaurus maybe a speech. Maybe, Luchasaurus still wants to rip his throat out. And then Christian gives him this impassioned speech about how Jungle Boy has been holding him back. Look at the size of you. Look at the shape you're in. Look at, what you could be doing if you were on your own. Yada, yada, yada. And you give Luchasaurus the decision that either he's going to be loyal to his friend or he's going to go off chasing fame and glory with Christian. And then you let him chase fame and glory and reject Jungle Boy. And then the crowd is going to respond to that like, oh no, what's that? But now we're kind of like, okay, so Christian mentioned Marco's stunt. So does this have anything to do with Marco's stunt? Well, he doesn't work there anymore. So I don't know. It's a huge character change with very little development in between. Now, I'm going to leave the door open to there possibly being these holes being filled in later on, maybe in a month, maybe in a couple of weeks. We'll go back and Christian will plug the holes of what happened over the last week. But I just kind of looked at it and was like, oh, I guess we're just doing this. And I was also kind of, flippantly laughing at the whole concept that now we're going to have Luchasaurus with fire and darkness and everything. I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. All right. We know Christian was in the Brute too. We know, yes. Everybody has their own version of Kane. I know, sure, whatever. It just is what it is. So I'm okay with it. So Serpentico loses. Of course he loses. He sucks. Also, the interesting thing about the whole Luchasaurus thing, the last thing I'm gonna say about this is that it's such a ridiculous knockoff of Kane or Abyss or whatever that I felt like, a kid who grew up loving Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and then seeing Battletoads for the first time. You know, like when I was a kid and I saw Battletoads, I was like, what the fuck is that? Like it's such an obvious ripoff. Such a blatant ripoff. Like you're clearly just trying to cash in. It's like when people started doing, what was that? You know, you had the Power Rangers and they were huge. And that's, you know, you got all the other, you know, Robo heroes and all that kind of shit. Everybody started coming out of nowhere. What was it? Beetleborgs and all that kind of shit start coming out of nowhere. And you're like, come on. I'm not such a mark for Power Rangers that I'll just watch anything that's Power Rangers like. You know? And it's just really weird that we would look at something that was in some ways creative, even though Kane wasn't even all that creative. It was based a lot on Lord Humongous, which was a gimmick that was done in the Territory era. He used to wear the Jason mask. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. Some of you who may have never watched the Territories, there was a character in the Territory era called Lord Humongous. I believe there was a couple people that played the character. One of them was Sid Vicious. That was one of his first roles when he first started wrestling. He was Lord Humongous. But it was based off of the movie The Road Warrior, which is a Mad Max movie. And in that movie, there was a character called Lord Humongous. He wore kind of like a hockey mask. And so they kind of ported that into wrestling, where it was a hockey mask. And then also, you know, the Smoky Mountain Wrestling, the guy Glenn Jacobs, who played Kane, he had a different character in Smoky Mountain Wrestling that was similar to what Kane would become. So it's not like Kane is a 100%, you know, it's also based on like on Michael Myers and all that kind of shit. So it's not like it's 100%, you know, created from every, you know, but Kane became so popular that pretty much everybody started ripping it off in one way or another. Like I used to call Abyss, he's obviously a mixture of Kane and Mick Foley. Like it's just such an obvious ripoff. Even look at the mask. The mask was even similar. Well, it's like Kane, Mick Foley, and Sabu, I guess you could say. Because, you know, the prison jumpsuit that he used to wear, which I thought was the coolest part of the Abyss characters when he started wearing like the prison jumpsuit with the cut off sleeves. I thought that was badass. And I figured that Kane should have went in that direction too, where he looked like he came out of a psych ward. Like, I love that. But Kane, Abyss was such an obvious fucking ripoff that it was hard for me to get into that gimmick. So I was just kind of like, he's just ripping Kane off, you know, like he's not doing, you know, firepower shit, but well, as long as, you know, Father James Mitchell is there and he's basically doing his best pallbearer, it just comes across as, you know, absolute knockoff to me. And I know the original, you know, stuff, the original story is not as good. They even did a complete knockoff of the storyline with Father James Mitchell was really Abyss's father, and then they brought in his half brother for him to feud with. Like the TNA went all the way with it. They just went all the way full ripoff. Okay, they just copied the homework completely. Now, I don't know what they're gonna do as far as AEW is kind of concerned. I hope they don't do some shit like Luchasaurus is really Jungle Boy's secret brother or something, because AEW doesn't do stuff like that. They don't do soap opera. So they're not going to do no shit like that anyway, you know, because everybody's going to be like, oh, we know that they're not really brothers. So, you know, they're not going to do no shit like that. Or are they? I don't know. But that's just kind of my take on Luchasaurus, man. I just looked at it and was like, some people are going to enjoy it. I'm going to give him the opportunity to win me over, but it's an obvious ripoff. You know, he's a battle toad, so it is what it is. Finally, we're going to move on. Scorpio Sky and Wardlow cut a promo on each other. They have agreed to no contact. Scorpio Sky said that he's feeling himself because he beat up a bunch of security guards, but he's already beaten Wardlow. Wardlow says he's sick of talking. He wants him to bring every member of American Top Team. He's going to treat them like security guards. Scorpio Sky, oh, you talking real tough for a guy with a no contact rule. And then said, well, if you feel so strongly about it, let's make it a street fight. And I was like, oh, fuck. God, we just can't have regular matches. Just got to have gimmick matches all the time. God damn. Look, I'm not interested in this match anyway. Hopefully this match is 4 minutes and Scorpio Sky just gets caught jumping off the top rope, powerbombed 400 times and pinned. You know, create some drama. You know, there's no reason for this to be a full-fledged match. I mean, who cares? Scorpio Sky isn't the future Wardlow is. Put Wardlow over strong. Have him beat him in 2 minutes. I mean, Scorpio Sky is dead. He's dead anyway. So it doesn't matter. He's dead anyway. All right. The Acclaimed and the Gun Club were defeated by Danhausen and FTR. The crowd loves FTR. They also kind of like Danhausen too. But they also trying to do a good job of getting the Acclaimed and the Gun Club over as baby faces, as they're doing the scissor me and all that kind of stuff. Showing a little bit more personality, which, I don't have a problem with. Max Castro, of course, was rapping, and he made a Flint water joke, which triggered some people. I was actually surprised to see so many people triggered about Max Castro's water joke, Flint water joke. You know what? It's not a game, but hey, it's fair. It's been several years now. It's been several years. For those of you who don't know or want an explanation of what happened with the Flint water crisis is, Flint was such a poorly run city that the state of Michigan took it over. This was when Rick Snyder was the governor. He took it over through, I forget what it's called, but the governor had this. You have to learn about how states are function. Cities are a function of the state. States are not functions of the federal government. That's how the United States works. States are sovereign. They're sovereign entities. Okay? That's why the federal government should not be ruling over the states. The states are sovereign entities. Now, through charters, states create counties and they create cities. Of course, counties are bigger than cities, yada, yada, yada. Because the state creates cities and can dissolve cities, when cities are financially irresponsible like Detroit, like Flint, like Benton Harbor, the state can come in through the emergency managers, take over, essentially defang the entire democratically elected government of said city and run the city. So Rick Snyder did this to Flint, changed the method of water because getting it from Detroit was too expensive. He decided to try to get it from the Flint River. In doing so, they used some really rusty pipes that hadn't been used in a long time, and the water was absolutely corroded. And that's why the Flint water sucks the way that it does. It was the fault of the Republican governor of Michigan. See, government power fucks up no matter who uses it. That's the thing about being a libertarian. I don't care that it was a Republican that fucked it up. It was government that fucked it up. When you try to do shit like that, it doesn't matter. You took over the city and then you fucked the city up. It doesn't matter if you were Democrat or Republican at that point, But some people are very sensitive about the Flint water thing. So I saw a lot of people get really upset about it. And I'm like, I don't live in Flint. Flint people are cool and all, but you've been drinking bottled water for like 5 or 6 years now, maybe even longer. It's been about 10 years, I think, almost. It sucks. If you ain't got the fuck out of Flint by now, I don't know what to tell you, baby. I know some people are stuck, but you got to get out of there. All right. After the match, Danhausen and FTR win because Anthony Bowens hits Austin Gunn in the head with a crutch by mistake. Afterwards, Billy Gunn actually shoves his son and argues with his son because his son was mad that he lost because of the Acclaimed. So the Gun Club are, they're kind of surprised, like, yo, our dad is don't got our back. What's going on here? And I'm kind of like, that's actually interesting. Could be dramatic in a way where we can actually see why does Billy Gunn like hanging out with the Acclaimed so much? And he does like hanging out with the Acclaimed, and we've seen that. Like, I haven't paid them a lot of attention, but I could tell that Billy Gunn is having a lot of fun hanging out with the Acclaimed. And maybe he sees his sons as guys who are, threatening that fun. Maybe he's having a midlife crisis. And he's like, I'm hanging out with the Acclaimed, and the Acclaimed are cool. And in turn, they make me feel cool. That could be an interesting thing for Billy Gunn. He wants to relive being in the Attitude Era or relive being badass Billy Gunn, and, gets to push some buttons, through living vicariously through the Acclaimed to our younger guys who are not doing it. That could be interesting if that's the direction that they wanted to go in. But that's just me also, fan fictioning. Because, it's a really cool idea for them to go out there and do that. We got another promo from Sanjay, the most useless wrestler of all time, Dutt, as he wants Samoa Joe to defend the ROH television title against Jay Lethal at Death Before Dishonor. Jay Lethal, of course, still wants the shot, and Satnam Singh said words. I didn't understand them. I didn't understand them at all. I didn't understand nothing. I was still fuming after having to listen to Sanjay Dutt talk. Everything about Sanjay Dutt pisses me off. I mean, I just get like the hair on my arms just stiffen and become as sharp as razors the moment Sanjay Dutt's face comes on TV. He's just such a worthless piece of garbage. They're really playing. I like how they're playing up Samoa Joe not coming to work though. They're doing a good job with that, and it's something that heel should talk about. I want a title match and you won't show up. Where you at? You ducking me? You scared? Okay. I'm not gonna go. And I know the match is gonna be pretty good. I mean, Jay Lethal and Samoa Joe. I would have liked if Jay Lethal actually wrestled on this TV show though. That would be nice. That would be nice. Fourth match on the show: Jade Cargill defeats Layla Gray in a TBS title match. Apparently, this was an open challenge. Never seen this Layla Gray chick before in my life, unless I did see her before in my life and I just don't remember. She's cute. She's a cute girl. First thing you got to talk about is whether she looks good or not. I mean, this is show business, baby. After the match, Jade Cargill beats her really quickly too, in like a minute or so. No challenge whatsoever. Jade Cargill gets on the microphone and demands real competition from Stokely. Stokely gets on the microphone, says that Jade Cargill has given everybody an opportunity. It's an open challenge. Then she says that Chris Statlander and Athena are not overlooked. They're just lazy. Now, before we get into Athena running to the ring, I want to talk about that Twitter back and forth that Jade Cargill and Ember Moon has been having. It's been awful. It's awful. It's terrible. That girl, Athena, Ember Moon, she doesn't even have skills in text. Like, even her text disses are whack. Just everything about her is so lame. I saw somebody on Twitter ask, like, do she even have black friends? I was like, that's fucked up. That's fucked up to say. It really is. But I laughed. I laughed because the shit caught me off guard. But that's fucked up to say. The girl's black. Of course she has black friends. I'm sure she has cousins, nieces or something. But just because she's corny doesn't mean that, she only hangs out with white people. There's enough corny Negroes running around here too, trust me. I know plenty of them. Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing Pokemon Go motherfuckers. Yeah, I know plenty of them. Alright? I was just sitting here talking about anime my damn self. So get off of Athena's back. She's just lame. She just has no personality. She's a square. And Jade Cargill roasting her on Twitter is fucking hilarious. At least it was for like 10 minutes, and then I got bored and started doing something else. It's amazing how she bores me so quickly, this Athena. Anyway, she ran to the ring. Chris Statlander ran to the ring too. Jade Cargill, Kiera Hogan, and then Layla Gray actually jumped in and helped Jade Cargill fight off these other girls. And Layla Gray, after they beat up the baby faces, reached out her hand to Stokely and kind of like she wanted to join the baddies. And I was like, oh, intrigued. I was intrigued. I didn't hate it. It was kind of weird that you would beat this girl and then she would immediately join your group, but I didn't hate it. And then I loved that Jade Cargill stepped in and swatted her hand away. Like, no, you can't be a baddie. No. She rejected her. And I was like, I like that. See what I mean by, characters making decisions and how it tells you what you need to know? She just beat Layla Gray, And we don't really know that much about Layla Gray. So now we don't even really need Jade Cargill to explain it either. I'm pretty sure she might, but she doesn't need to because she has standards, and you can tell she probably has some kind of standard about what it takes to be a baddie, and Layla Gray isn't good enough, So you see Layla Gray lose in short order. Jade Cargill dismisses her as not real competition. She then tries to double back and say, well, since I'm not real competition, maybe I could be a lackey. And Jade Cargill's like, no, you can't be a lackey either. The fuck out of here. I'm done with you. I don't want nothing to do with you. That's great character shit. Now we see that, Jade Cargill sets standards for everything. Allies and opponents. She only wants the best allies. She only wants the best opponents. Layla Gray ain't good enough to be either one. I like that. That's good shit. The Young Bucks, they're upset. They're talking about they're unhappy because all of their friends are injured, which says a lot about their damn friends, isn't it? How every fucking friend you got in the business is hurt at the same time? How does that happen? Kenny Omega is hurt. Young Red Dragon is hurt. Adam Cole is hurt. I guess Brandon Cutler twisted his ankle getting out of bed this morning. Maybe he tore his pec taking out the garbage or something like that. This was fucking hilarious to me that these guys, every friend they got in the world, got hurt at the same time. Speaking of Kenny Omega, he's being real dramatic online, talking about one more major injury and I might be finished. I may never return. I'm just kind of like, you know what? All right. I was surprised he didn't show up at Forbidden Door, to be quite honest. He must really be fucked up if he didn't show up to the AEW New Japan crossover show that he probably was fantasy booking in his head for the entire time that he was on the roster. So, him not being there, very interesting. I'm going off into a tangent again. All right, so the Young Bucks says that they got called out by Yoshihashi and Goto. And I instantaneously put my head in my hands because I knew exactly what they were talking about. Some people who are not into the New Japan thing, they don't get it. Yoshihashi is one of the biggest J-Browns. Like, I know in the last year or so, he started to win. But Yoshihashi is a flat-affected J-Brown. He's a job guy. He sucks. He's boring. Hiroki Goto is at best the Dolph Ziggler of New Japan. Guy has a lot of skills and talent. Well, that's probably Sonata. But guy got a lot of skills and talent, but he was never getting over a certain point. And they had no intention of ever pushing Goto anywhere. And we're not going to be told that both of these guys are going to be wrestling the Young Bucks on Dynamite in a championship contenders match. They didn't call it that. But they said they got called out by Goto and Yoshihashi, but they're going to make them prove themselves to them by wrestling them in a non-title match first. So it's essentially a championship contenders match. I will not be partaking upon anything Yoshihashi. Yoshihashi sucks. He sucks. He's boring. Boring. I'll pass on Yoshihashi. Pass. All right, Blood and Guts, the main event of the show. Now, if you've been paying attention, you're probably going to say, Mongo, how could you possibly hate this match? Well, I didn't hate it. I'll tell you that much. I just didn't like it as much as everybody else did. To me, these matches have become hugely cliche. For starters, wrestling is a drama. And there is a big problem with the dramatic effect of having this kind of match. Also, these matches have become cliche because they're all built around the big spot. Who's going to take the big jump? That's really all it is now. Cage matches, ladder matches, they're all basically just who's going to make the big jump. Who's going to jump off something? And we kind of figured it was going to be Sammy Guevara. And Sammy Guevara, of course, took the big jump off to the top of the cage and swantoned through a table onto something very soft. And it didn't quite poof as Jericho did the previous year. It had a little bit more sound to it. That being said, that was the big spot everybody was waiting for. But let me tell you what my biggest problem with this match is. And I think it's not a minor critique either. It's not me nitpicking. I'm not talking about how the match was uneven or anything stupid like that. This match suffers because the match can't end until everybody's in the ring. So that means when you start having people come into the ring, it's all just pointless violence, right? So you can bring in chairs, glass, thumbtacks, kebab skewers, Legos, barbed wire, fire, nuclear cannons. It doesn't matter what it is. You can't pin or submit anybody until everybody comes in. So that means from the minute the bell for starters doesn't ring until everybody's in the match. So whatever. So from the first two people get into the ring, there's nothing dramatic that could possibly happen. Because you can't pin each other. You can't submit each other. So you're just going to go in there and throw your best shit. Chops, uppercuts, body slams, jump off stuff. And you just do this for the next 30 minutes. Because for 30 minutes, you fight and fight and fight and nothing dramatic can really happen. Okay? That's just kind of how it is. What makes wrestling fun is the false finish. Guy gets caught in a submission hold. Is he going to tap out? Is he going to give up? Have you been working that body part? If you have been, he could give up. If you haven't been, now you're weakening it. It could lead into the finish later. You hit a guy with a power bomb or whatever onto a stack of thumbtacks. Is that going to be enough to pin him? When you don't even have that option to pin him, you could just power bomb the guy on a glass and he just gonna and then roll off to the side. It's like, okay, now we've done that. Now we just continue, because we can't end the match. So that means we can hit this guy with whatever we want. We can bash him in the head with kryptonite 400 times. We can't fucking pin him until the bell rings. So where's the drama? What bad could happen? You can't lose. You can't win. So now we have to sit back and wait for people to have the opportunity to win. I had the same problem with the King of the Mountain match, with TNA. You can't win the match until you pin somebody else and gain the ability to hang the belt above the arena. That's stupid. You're killing the fucking drama. How about, you have something where a guy could just climb a ladder and grab it. And he could do that at any point in time. It's like, yes, we're going to drag it out and, do some spots and everything. But ultimately, anybody could win at any point in time. In this situation, nobody can win ever until everybody's in the match. So it doesn't matter who comes in first. It doesn't matter who comes in last. Doesn't matter what weapons you use. Doesn't matter what you hit the guy with. You can hit him with the flyingest RKO from any position. He could catch on fire like NBA Jam. You can't pin him. You can't do anything to him. Just watch him roll over to the side of the ring, and that's it. So you're sitting here watching just mindless violence at this point, And then at a certain point, it becomes uninteresting. And I have to tell you, at some point, I did lose interest. I had seen, after the kebab skewers, I'm pretty sure I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to mentally check out until there's an opportunity for somebody to win this match. All right? Because I'm like, all right, I'm just about to sit here and watch guys get stabbed with forks, get stabbed with kebabs, and there's no way these guys are going to win or lose. At least when you do death matches in GCW or something like that, you hit a guy with a fluorescent light tube at any point in the match, you have an opportunity to win. In this situation, you can do whatever you want to this fucking guy. You could cut him in half. You still can't pin him. You still can't make him submit. So you're fucked. He'll be okay. And then that's the way they work these matches too, where you do whatever you want to a guy, and he's back up 2-3 minutes later, and everything is good. Everything is all right. Also, I wasn't a fan of when they did this last year too, and I'm not a fan of it this year either. When Jericho climbed to the top of the cage, everything in the ring stopped. Like, they were doing stuff on top of the cage. And it was Jericho and Kingston, and they're the two guys that the story is about. So they're the two main focuses of the match. They separated from everybody else and go to the top of the cage. As soon as they went up to the top of the cage, it's like somebody hit the pause button on everything that was in the ring. So I kept saying, like, what's going on in the ring? What's going on in the ring? And I'm like, are they doing nothing in the ring? Are they just laying down? Because that's what it seemed like they're doing. Last year, that's what they were doing. I kept saying the same thing. What are they doing? What are they doing? They're just laying down. This year, Again, just laying down. Jericho pretty much laid it out where he gets all the spotlight. So you guys can't be doing spots or fighting or throwing uppercuts or whatever in the ring, because I'm doing something on top of the cage that the cameras need to pick up. The cameras need to be up there to watch everything I do on top of the cage. So whatever you're doing in the ring is irrelevant. It's not going to lead to the finish or anything. So again, no drama. You also take me out of it because like I can't see the full scope of the fight now. You know, it's like now all of a sudden all the crazy shit you guys have been doing to each other, now it's built up and you guys need to take a break and lay down and stay there. Okay, sure. Now I didn't mind everything that happened in this match. Skinny 2.0 guy, he got into the match and he started running around and he was rolling all over the ground and trying to escape the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm just going to call him that for the sake of time. Trying to escape that team, and he was like running between the two rings and rolling around on the floor. I thought that was great chicken shit heel stuff. He was really good at that. And then Claudio caught him and, you know, carried him back to the ring. I thought that was dope. Claudio looked huge in this match. Like, he didn't look that big in WWE. In AEW, though, he looks massive. Like, I think he was in the ring with Sammy Guevara, and Sammy Guevara was chopping him in the chest, and he was no-selling him. Completely believable. Completely believable that Cesaro wouldn't even feel a chop from Sammy Guevara. The guy looked like he's cut out of granite. And we know he's strong as shit. So, him no-selling Sammy Guevara was great. You know, it was awesome. Also, the giant swing on top of the cage was awesome too. Great visual, by the way, especially the overhead visual of Jericho going in circles. That was great. The finish with Jericho being in the neck crank and Fat Guy from 2.0 being in the sharpshooter, both on top of the cage, and then Fat Guy from 2.0 tapping out and losing the match for his team. And then Eddie Kingston being upset because he wanted to beat Jericho and make Jericho submit. So even though he won, he was upset that he won, which makes, of course, Eddie Kingston a miserable asshole. But that's a great character development. Now, AEW asks, of course, that you do your own research. Like I said, you got to do your homework watching AEW. You got to know about the history between Eddie Kingston and Claudio Castagnoli. Because they're not going to tell you. They're not going to show you. All night you could have had vignettes. A talking segment backstage where Eddie Kingston gets in Claudio's face and says, I got a problem with you because of blah, 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 from blah, 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 blah. And Claudio could be like, water under the bridge. No big deal. And he's like, no. It's a big deal to me. You know, maybe even play the same card he played with CM Punk. You went off and made a bunch of money and I didn't. You know, and it just seems like that's a running gag with Eddie Kingston. Like, he's a real legitimate character on the show where he makes certain decisions based off of his history with these people. Unfortunately, the audience isn't always told about the history he has with those people until he's ready to fight them. You know, like, it would have been nice if we'd have found out about his history with CM Punk the moment CM Punk came in and Eddie Kingston was the only guy that was not happy. You know, why it wouldn't have hurt us at all to do a segment similar to what they did on Monday Night Raw, where Austin Theory was the one guy who wasn't happy John Cena came back. He went and got in John Cena's face. If Eddie Kingston would have been the guy on that very same episode of Rampage where CM Punk came back and Eddie Kingston showed up and was like, I don't want you here. You know, you say that people that don't want you here, I don't want you here. I'm telling you to your face, I don't want you here. And then maybe we explain why he doesn't want CM Punk here as we go forward. You know, like, we get it. He puts out tweets and all this kind of stuff telling us that he doesn't like this new ROH guy that's coming in. He doesn't trust him. He doesn't like him. But we're not seeing this on TV. Don't make it my responsibility to know that you two were feuding at some other point in time. Don't leave it to the fans to try to educate other fans about what's going on. I know there's some video out there that details the feud of Eddie Kingston and Claudio Castagnoli from Chikara or Ring of Honor or whatever the fuck. I'm not watching it. I'm not doing homework for a wrestling show. Okay? Eddie Kingston has a mouth. He knows how to use it. We should be seeing we should be seeing vignettes. We should be seeing promos of why he doesn't trust Claudio. He could just say it out of his mouth on TV. I don't trust you. I don't like you. And I don't like that the Blackpool Combat Club picked you to be our partner. But I hate Jericho more than I hate you. So I'm going to, as long as you stay out of my way, we'll be fine. You know, that kind of attitude. That's the kind of shit we need on this show to make drama. Make drama. I've been beating that horn. Beating that horn. God damn it. Beating that drum. This entire video. Create fucking drama. Characters can create drama because they have alliances. They have likes and dislikes. They have people that they don't like. It's fine that they have history from 10 years ago or whatever. But just tell everybody about it. There's a certain way you can do it. It doesn't take you very long. You know, like it doesn't take you but 30 to 40 seconds for Eddie Kingston to fast talk about why he doesn't like Claudio, why he's not happy that this guy is here. He's not happy that this guy is his partner. And we give Claudio an opportunity to develop his character too by either saying it's water under the bridge or laughing at him by saying how petty he is or whatever the case may be. It opens up opportunities. You know, it opens up opportunities for Jon Moxley to try to explain to Eddie Kingston why this is a good idea. You know, and Forbidden Door ends with Jon Moxley trying to talk to Eddie Kingston about this whole thing. But to the average person, they don't understand why Eddie Kingston doesn't have a problem with it. It's like, I don't know. What's the big deal? That's why you're supposed to start the show, even if you want to do a match first. Okay, you want to start with action, I'm fine with that. But then at some point, you could have cut out some of this extra shit that they had going here and shoved in a Kingston promo where he talks to Moxley even one-on-one, man-to-man. Even he doesn't have to confront Claudio. He could just pull Moxley aside and say, let me talk to you, Mox. I want to talk to you about something. What's up with your man over here? What's up with you bringing in this guy? You know I don't like this guy. And, you know, Moxley can say, look, you know, hey, it wasn't my choice. It was Regal or it was Danielson. Danielson doing his own thing. I ain't got nothing to do with that. You know, like, just create a story. That way we go into the match, we thinking, okay, can Kingston and Claudio, can they coexist? Then maybe later, Kingston is a stand-up dude. He goes to Claudio, tells him he doesn't like him. But as long as he stays out of his way, they're fighting on the same side. He hates Jericho more than he hates him. He'll deal with him after he get done with Jericho. And then the finish makes a lot more sense because Claudio wins. Claudio is the big hit, the big hero. And Eddie Kingston feels gypped out of his revenge on Jericho. Doesn't it make more sense the way I laid it out? Versus the guy wins and he's mad that he won. And then Excalibur is yelling about Eddie Kingston wanted to beat Chris Jericho. I'm like, the outcome is the same either way. You know? But if you tell people, and this is the thing, yes, if people are paying attention, they would know that, but not everybody's going to, dedicate every hour of the day to watching this shit and nitpicking it and taking it apart and all that kind of shit. Again, that's very niche, nerdy shit about this stuff. Make your product more accessible to more people, and you'll find that more people will like it. More people will feel in on it if you like, to use another niche non-wrestling example. There's a reason why they keep telling Batman's origin story all over again. Some people hate it. People who are really into comic books, I don't never want to see another Batman movie that tells Batman's origin. It's like every generation of kids knows Batman's origin. Why? Because they keep retelling it. Every generation of kids knows Spider-Man's origin. Why? Because they keep telling it. They keep telling you again and again, no matter how many times they reboot it, they're going to tell you Spider-Man's origin. Because there's kids out there who don't know. And guess AEW has to operate off of everybody needs to know everything. That's not how real world works. That's not how any TV show works. Most TV shows at least tell you what the fuck is going on. At least they focus on whatever the main story is. I think that's a Walking Dead thing. They don't give you a full rundown. But if this particular angle or story is going to have developments in this episode, They're going to give you previously on The Walking Dead, and then they're going to focus on these characters and what these characters have been doing so that you can get caught up as they continue to do stuff in the episode that you're about to watch. And you don't have to do flashbacks. WWE does way too much of that stuff. But you do have to verbalize to people what is going on so they can understand it better. Or at least clarify it. Because now you got people shoving random videos into people's DMs or adding you like, you need to watch this if you don't understand it. I'm like, you're a wrestler, you're a fucking fan. You're not in the creative. What the fuck? I'm not listening to you. I'm listening to you for. You know, you're a fucking asshole watching the shit on TV. You don't know about what's going on here. And it's not up to you to tell me the story. You know, it's up to the fucking company to tell me the story. You know, if they fail to do a good job of it, it's their failure. And if that runs off people because they feel like they're too busy with their Layla Gray and Jade Cargill match or their stupid Danhausen 6-man tag to tell a fucking story for their main event, then that's a decision they have to make. You know? But I didn't hate the main event. But to me, I watched bits and pieces of it. You know, it's hard for me to sit still in a match with no pinfalls and no submissions for 30 minutes. And just like, God damn, there's nothing going to happen in this match. And I know it. It's one thing for me to not know it. It's another thing for me to just know nothing can possibly happen for 20 to 30 minutes. So if I look away, if I go to the bathroom, what do I miss? Oh yeah, he powerbombed him on some glass. Oh, okay. Hey, I missed the powerbomb on the glass. That sucks a little bit, but nobody won or lost. It's like commercials. You know, you go to commercial, nobody's going to get pinned or submitted in the commercial, so you can change the channel. You can go to the bathroom. You can do whatever you want, you know, and you kill the drama. And that's what wrestling is, man. Wrestling is a fucking drama. All right. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Let me know what y'all think. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.